Hey everyone, welcome to another installment of Harry Potter Theory. In this video, we'll be discussing Professor Filius Flitwick, resident Charms Master of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, and head of Ravenclaw House. Filius comes from the Latin word for son, and it has been expressed that his name is derived from Filius Philosophorum, which means the philosopher's son, a symbol in alchemy. When new students are first sorted into Ravenclaw, they are introduced to their head of house in the following manner. Speaking of eccentrics, you'll like our head of house, Professor Filius Flitwick. People often underestimate him because he's really tiny. We think he's part elf, but we've never been rude enough to ask. And he's got a squeaky voice, but he's the best and most knowledgeable charms master alive in the world today. His office door is always open to any Ravenclaw with a problem, and if you're in a real state, he'll get out these delicious little cupcakes he keeps in a tin in his desk drawer, and make them do a little dance for you. In fact, it's worth pretending you're in a real state just to see them jive. Flitwick is an interesting character, as though he is quite prevalent, not a lot of information is ever revealed about him or his backstory, at least not too directly. However, what we can do is piece together Flitwick's story with the little tidbits that were sporadically given. Filius was born somewhere in the British Isles to the wizarding family, the Flitwicks. His small stature can be attributed to what Rowling has described as a dash of goblin blood, stemming back to what we believe to be his great-great-great-grandparent. Clearly, goblin blood is quite potent, as despite preceding Filius' existence by several generations, it still had a profound impact on his physical stature. We don't know which of Filius' parents carried the goblin blood, or exactly how far back it would have been introduced to his bloodline, but we do know that it stemmed from long before Filius. We don't know what year he was born, because we don't actually know how old Filius Flitwick is, and this is further complicated by the fact that the character we see on screens in films is portrayed in two very different ways. We're first introduced to Flitwick right at the beginning of the books and films, in Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Then we see the same Flitwick return in Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. This version of Flitwick is grey-bearded, bald, and clearly quite old, perhaps even giving Dumbledore a run for his money. But then, out of nowhere, the Prisoner of Azkaban introduces us to an entirely different, new Flitwick, a much younger version of the Professor, sporting a full head of brown hair and a large curled moustache. They did a bit of a 180 on his character, but I've personally become much more familiar with the younger, brown-haired Flitwick that was present for the majority of the films. But while we don't know Flitwick's exact age, there is a lot of speculation floating around that he was born sometime between 1935 and 1958. This is a wide range, I know. 1958 seems late, because this would mean that he was only 40 during the Battle of Hogwarts, which makes no sense to me. 1935, on the other hand, would make him 63 during the Battle of Hogwarts, which doesn't quite match his newer appearance. I'm thinking that I personally feel best about splitting the difference, and assuming that Flitwick was born in the year 1946, which would make him 52 during the Battle of Hogwarts. For some perspective, this would make him 5 years older than Bellatrix Lestrange, 2 years older than Alistair Moody, and 11 years younger than McGonagall, assuming she was born in 1935. This seems about right. Like most other characters, Flitwick also attended Hogwarts in his youth. Due to his goblin heritage, Flitwick was initially treated like a second-class citizen by many, the result of stigma towards goblins in the wizarding community. Goblins, while they appear to have at least a grudging coexistence with the wizarding world, have nonetheless experienced much discrimination from wizards, and many have led significant uprisings against them in the past. However, despite the discrimination that Flitwick experienced firsthand, he had no issues at the school. This was no doubt the result of his incredibly thick skin and ability to perceive those who treated him differently as ignorant simpletons rather than malicious sectarians. This was a testament to Flitwick's overall tolerance. He was a man that could handle a lot, and what he endured in his life made him very tough. So tough, in fact, that it was revealed to us in the Chamber of Secrets that Flitwick was once a dueling champion. Flitwick was a dueling champion when he was young. He supposedly has a shelf full of trophies to prove it. During Flitwick's sorting ceremony, the sorting hat did take some time to sort Flitwick, though it should be noted that no hat stall occurred. A hat stall occurs when the sorting hat needs additional time to come up with a decision, usually 5 minutes or longer, and though with Flitwick it took some extra time, it didn't need 5 minutes. It occurs when a student has a personality that can be considered equally suitable for each of the Hogwarts houses, and in Flitwick's case, the hat viewed Flitwick as a nearly equally suitable candidate for both Ravenclaw and Gryffindor. Gryffindor House has an emphasis on bravery as a character trait, and Ravenclaw has an emphasis on intelligence and knowledge. Though Flitwick was exceedingly brave, his intelligent and studious mind ended up being a better fit for Ravenclaw House, where he would later feel right at home. Flitwick was a promising young student who achieved high grades in both his OWL and Newt exams, showcasing exceptional ability across a multitude of subjects. However, what Flitwick really excelled in was charms. Charms are spells which add certain properties to objects or individuals. Charms should not be confused with transfigurations, as transfiguration refers to a spell that changes what the object is, rather than just changing properties of the object. There are countless charms in Harry Potter, and we see Flitwick exercising his charms abilities while casting defensive enchantments over Hogwarts before it's attacked by Voldemort and the Death Eaters. Flitwick is thought to be one of the most talented charms teachers that ever taught at Hogwarts, and had no difficulty producing even the most complex, complicated, and powerful shield charms. After graduating from Hogwarts, Flitwick became a master duelist, and dove further into other areas of magic, eventually mastering some of the trickiest areas, like defense against the dark arts. And it was Flitwick's knowledge of the dark arts that allowed him to personally defeat a handful of Death Eaters during the siege on Hogwarts. From there, Flitwick found himself right back at his old stomping grounds, taking up the post of Charms Master at Hogwarts in Classroom 2E. Flitwick's classroom was located in the Charms Corridor on the 3rd floor of the Training Grounds Tower, the same tower where the library is located. Flitwick was a gifted professor and commanded a great deal of respect from both his colleagues and students. Not only was he an excellent teacher, but he was also considerably more tolerant and patient than some of the other professors. During Charms lessons, Flitwick was the target of many misfired spells that were produced at the hands of Ron Weasley, Neville Longbottom, Seamus Finnegan, and others. Flitwick was also far more tolerant of disobedience, and would rarely deduct house points or give his students detention. Flitwick's class was among Hermione's favourites, as she praised him as a professor. It also helped that she did particularly well in his class. Knowing that Hermione was very talented with charm work, he would sometimes turn a blind eye to her showing up late to class or missing it altogether. It was this attitude that made him very well liked by the student body. Additionally, due to Flitwick's introduction to discrimination very early on in his life, he was particularly conscious of and fair when it came to the consideration of students' houses. He had no bias towards students of his house and treated all students the same, as he should. Flitwick taught at the school for many years, and in 1998 helped with the defense of Hogwarts against the Death Eaters. Flitwick played a pivotal role in the defense of Hogwarts, as he was able to help defeat numerous Death Eaters, including the powerful Antonin Dolohov. This is a true testament to Flitwick's abilities. After the Battle of Hogwarts, Flitwick simply resumed his post as Charms Master at the school. He was a passionate and devoted professor that loved educating new generations on charm work. And after the battle, he still had plenty of life left in him. Flitwick, the tiny little wizard who had to stand on a pile of books to see over his desk, was one of the best things to ever happen to the school. And that's it for this video. Which backstory do you guys want next? If you enjoy the content, please remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, you're Withered Harry.